detriment, but I don't think so. This is one of the reasons I love you. One of the most honest men. Like, if you don't think someone's got it, you look them in the eye and go, you don't have it.
That's true. I think that being a manager is very simple. It's just turning no's into yeses. And in turning no's into yeses, you have to upset a lot of people.
But a lot of times your clients turn yeses into a very personal no. And I'm not going to go down the whole thing. But it seems like the job of a manager is to hold on to the clients as long as possible, because it is an absolute inevitability that your clients will fire you at some point. And it's not entirely the manager's fault. I've come into your office 3 times in our relationship with yellow legal pads saying, this has to change or you're fucking fired.
True.
But it changed.
Yeah.
And what always bothered me about clients firing managers, it's not that you fired your manager, it's that year of anger you kept inside you without communicating to the manager that there was a problem.
Yeah, it's one of the things that's the weirdest thing about being a manager is that there's certain people who you're with your whole career, and people might not expect that you're with them your whole career, and then there's people who literally, send you like 20 pages of emails that they love you, you're the greatest thing, or they'll go up at a roast and say, get yourself a white Jew manager, and then 3 days later, it's like, this isn't working out. It's like, so.
Now, if I can backtrack for a second, very specifically, Barry is referring to his managerial relationship with the great, and as of this recording, not late, Tracy Morgan.
Yeah, I represented Tracy.
I love Barry Katz. There was a roast for Barry Katz. And Tracy went up. You got to keep in mind, Tracy, and I'll let Barry tell the lion's share of the story, but if I don't do the impression, people will be like, what the fuck was that? Tracy went up at the roast and didn't have any insults for Barry. Instead, he began weeping and said, this man saved my life. I lived in the ghetto with my 5 babies. He's got 3 kids. I got 5 babies and 4 daughters and doo-doo papers, and Barry Katz pulled us up out of the ghetto. I live in a high-rise. It's because of this, man. I'm like the Jeffersons. I'm George Jefferson. I'm moving on up. I'm on the Upper West Side, though. I can't fuck with no East Side. Nigga don't like East Side. I'm on the West Side in the motherfucking Trump Tower. And then Tracy begins weeping, right?
Yes, he's crying.
I love this man. And if you want to be successful in show business, you get yourself a Jew white manager like Barry Katz. And he'll pull your family out the ghetto and put food on your table. And make sure your kids got doo-doo pampers that fit. This man made me a millionaire. I love him. And that's all I got to say, because I'm breaking down. And that's my word. And my word is born. Peace. Now, Barry, what happened 3 days after that speech?
3 days after that speech, I get a phone call from Tracy. And he just says, hey, Barry, how you doing? I said, hey, what's up, Tracy? He's like, yo, man, this isn't working out. Like, I'm not going where I need to go. I mean, I need to go I need to get, I don't think it can happen. I mean,
I love this man. He's my Jew manager. He got me out the ghetto. I got everybody pregnant with Barry Katz and semen. 3 days later, you fired Barry Katz. It ain't working out. Now, what the fuck happened in 72 hours between weeping at a dais in front of other comics where, like, Nick DiPaolo and Colin Quinn are looking at you like, Jesus, a little uncomfortable. Tracy's, like, crying. And, all of a sudden, Barry Katz, he's like, they're crying Indian at the litter commercial. Just sort of really depressed that we're all making fun of his hotshot Jew manager. Take it easy, Tracy. We can't all sign with Trace, Louis Ferranda that owns Caroline. Some of us, got to go out and hoof for a living. Yo, B, I love Barry Katz. He's my main man. Jesus, Tracy, we get it. And then Nick DiPaolo's like, geez, I fucking hate these people over blacks. And then, so how do you go? What happened in those 3 days that Tracy Morgan went from weeping at a dais to calling you up to saying you're fired?
I have
You're fired.
I have no idea, but all I know is that I've learned throughout this business that you got to love the business, you got to love what you do, but you can't fall in love with it. And so I'm very proud of what I did with Tracy Morgan to have a guy.
What did you put him on specifically?
Well, this is what's amazing is that.
Are you responsible for him? People don't realize this. Tracy weighed like 400 pounds when I see him at the Uptown Comedy Club. And he had a fucking pacifier in his mouth. Yeah. And he went up on stage in a diaper like he was in George Clinton's band. Yeah.
I used to go...
He's hopping around like a frog, and he had like this weird like Billy Jack, like he had like a bar of soap and a pillowcase, and he just keeps slapping. Your mother's so fat, she put her hands in her pockets when she's naked. Yeah, fuck you, punk. And then like if he lost the battle, he'd be like, fuck you, I'll wait for you outside, nigga.
Yeah, I used to go up to the Uptown Comedy Club in Harlem, and I was like the only white guy who went up to see the show. It was an all-black audience.
Yo, he must be a manager.
And I used to watch him.
That wasn't
all the
Tracy.
time.
That was a separate black person. Sorry.
Yo, that man must be a manager.
I was fascinated by him. He
That's
was just
Reuben Kincaid from the Partridge Family.
he was just such a great physical comic, but he was managed by this other guy who was like a really threatening guy to him, and he was scared
On
of
Mohr
him.
Stories, we name names. That's something. Put your
I
name
would.
on.
I don't remember the guy. I don't remember. I swear to you, I don't remember.
Did he ever
the guy.
manage Mike Tyson?
No.
Okay.
And so
Was it Reuben Kincaid?
No.
No.
And so one day he just said to
He
me
didn't
like
say no, by the way, Cohen. Just so you know.
he said I'll come see you one day, whatever. And that one day came. I was in my office. There was a knock on the door, and he comes into my office and he's wearing. I swear to you, this is unbelievable. You know the kind of T-shirt that you wear, it's a white T-shirt, but it's so old. It's like a gray, and it's got the moth holes. He's got dirty shorts.
Did it have a cartoon character on it?
No,
Because
and
that somehow brothers turn cartoon characters gangster. Like a guy will roll into your office with like a fucking Tweety Bird T-shirt, like, yeah, motherfucker, you know I'm here to play, goddammit. Tweety Bird and me representing on fucking 45th Street on Broadway, nigga. Check me out. I thought a motherfucking putty tat. Sign me, motherfucker.
That was another black guy. And so he comes in with, what do you call the kind of hair that a black guy, is it nappy? He just had this hair.
Whoa, I'm a little uncomfortable with the racist
sorry.
turn this podcast
We'll
is
edit
taking.
that out.
No.
And he was wearing
It was very long.
a multicolored beanie with a propeller on top.
I remember that.
I'm
That's what he
not
used to wear in Uptown
kidding
Comedy
you.
Club.
And he comes in and he says, "Yo, B."
So he's dressed for success.
Yeah. He says, "Listen, man, I'm my kids are living in the projects on Loring
I
Avenue.
miss my daughter.
I got 4 kids. I'm not married. We're on welfare. Can you help me get out of it?" I said,
So
"Listen,
Tracy Morgan comes into your office. He's got jeans on with holes in them.
not even jeans, like shorts,
Like cut off denim. He's dressed like a hillbilly. He's dressed like a white hillbilly. He's got a white T-shirt on with holes in it with Tweety Bird on it. He's got a hat with a propeller. He's dressed like a special boy at Six Flags.
He's in rough shape, but I will say this: what he did
Not
have,
a Rockefeller.
no, but what he did have, the body of work that he did have that helped me. He did like 3 guest sets on Martin as Hustle Man.
Hustle Man.
You know, like in these shows, people think you're a millionaire when you do a guest set on a show, but you make between $1,000 and $4,000, and after taxes, $6 in a bucket of chicken. I'm not comfortable with the tone this is taking. And
For those of you listening, you can save your tweets. That's a Barry Katz go-to.
and
That's
so,
Barry Katz lingo for, I'm not really going to get you a lot of money for this gig. He says that all the time. Well, you could do Law and Order Criminal Intent, but at the end of the day, man, you're going to be working for a bucket of chicken and a Subway token.
yeah, so I knew I had this tool. If I could have this tool, I could get him something. And there were these people at the WB that I loved and I had a great relationship with.
Gene Blythe?
It was Jordan Levin and Kathleen Lettery.
Yeah.
And I had done a sketch show there where I executive produced it. And
Which
I had
one was
it
that?
in there. It was called Hype. And so I knew I had it in there, so I edited the tape together and I sent it to them. And they gave me a $60,000 holding deal for pilot season only from January 1st to like May 30th. And that money helped him get out of there
Help Tracy.
and go into the high rise on the water. I forget where
The
it was.
Trump Tower. It's where like Star Jones and shit. It's where everybody does the
I
View
don't know
lives.
if he immediately went to the Trump Tower. It was a different
All right,
place.
you could have just helped the podcast along by agreeing, but whatever.
And so I did that because I had the thought that he could get Saturday Night Live, and I only wanted a certain amount of time. So the Saturday Night Live thing is amazing.
So he comes into your office, you get the holding deal money, 60 G's from the people at the WB. Now, in your mind at this time, you see Tracy Morgan as someone, Barry Katz, I know the people, and I know the way it works. I'm pretty sure I can get Tracy Morgan on Saturday Night Live. That's the end game for you.
That was the end game for me, and I told him that, and he couldn't believe it. But I'd had a pretty good
My mind is blown.
I'd had a pretty good success rate helping get people on SNL, or at least being a part of it. And you actually
Me,
were the
Brewer.
first person Brewer, Daryl Hammond.
Daryl Hammond, Jay Mohr, Jim Brewer, Tracy Morgan.
Yeah.
Who else?
Those were the four, right?
That's really not that many to hang your hat on. I mean, for you to come on a podcast and
Well, when
say,
you first start as a manager and you don't know what the hell you're doing, it
four
wasn't...
people out of 200 total cast members. Let me tell you something, man.
And so
if I may, and I'm going to interrupt a lot, and
Please.
it's ADD radio, as we know.
I'm going to interview you later.
Opie and Anthony and Ron and Fez and the Jim Rome Show, it's complete ADD radio. So why not have an ADD podcast? You see Tracy, the end game for you, obviously the end game is like giant movies like Tracy Morgan in a Kevin Smith movie called Cop Out, but you didn't know he'd fire you before getting in said movie. But the end game at that point was you getting Tracy on Saturday Night Live, and you feel comfortable about it. It's like having an ace. Like, I know in 2 days I got Clayton Kershaw taking the mound. I'm pretty confident we're going to win this.
Yeah, but I was always very confident.
I just said that so we could put this in the sports section of iTunes. There you go.
I was always very confident of preparing comedians and getting them where they wanted to go. And that year, which was a fascinating year, see, what I used to do, and you don't even probably know this, I used to call Marcy and Lauren
Marcy Klein, executive producer of 30 Rock and Saturday Night Live, daughter of Calvin Klein, and one of the only people I've ever personally met that has been kidnapped.
Yes.
Lauren Michaels, of course, from the dog food commercials. Oh, that's Lauren Green. Go ahead.
So I used to, when you're a young manager, nobody's listening to you. Nobody cares. You don't have anybody. You don't have anybody who makes any money. You're just trying to make it. And so I would call them almost, weekly, sometimes daily, and they'd never take the phone calls.
Right.
And then one day, they pick up the phone, and you're like, they start yelling at you. No, Lauren would never yell at you, but Marcy would have that tone where she'd just give it to you and say, "What do you want? What's going on? Why do you keep calling?" And I would just be in a situation where I would say, "Hey, listen, I just want you to see some acts because you only use Brillstein Gray's act or William Morris on the show, and I think I have some people who would go well." And she said something to the effect of, and I'm paraphrasing, "Listen, if we go to see your people, will you never, ever fucking call us again?"
I don't think you're paraphrasing. That sounds exactly Klein-esque. Here's the thing. Isn't it amazing in show business how many stories start that way? And I think Jim Rome, of the greatest sports radio show that ever was, is, and will be, I mean, you show me, he's the Rush Limbaugh of sports radio. I think he kept bothering the Santa Barbara radio department when he was a gaucho, saying, "Let me do updates, let me do this." And they finally said, "We'll let you do traffic and weather, but here's the thing. You can never, if you mess up, you can never call us ever again." And now he's got 4 million listeners.
Yeah, and for Marcy and Lauren, it was like I knew that you, at the first time, that you would deliver. But what was odd about you, because what happened with you when I was a manager is like the first job, literally, you ever went up for with Alexa Fogel, casting director.
At ABC.
At ABC, you got the job. So every time you were going in, you were getting things. So I knew. But Saturday Night Live...
The good old days, we call them.
The good old days. And so when you went up, I remember you just, you had shorts on, you had, you weren't, it was almost like the winning formula was, I'm not going to care. But you cared, but I wasn't going to care, and that stuck with them anyway. And once you got in, that gave me the in.
But we'll do me, okay, but let's jump ahead to Tracy, and then we'll get back to my audition, because my audition is oddly unique, because there were a couple acts of God that happened the night I auditioned for Saturday Night Live. So if you're listening to the podcast, this is Mohr Stories. I'm Jay Mohr. I'm sitting with Barry Katz. He's managed such legendary people as myself, Tracy Morgan, Daryl Hammond, Jim Brewer, Whitney Cummings,
Dave Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle. All of them have fired him, except me. So that's why he's here in the Fake Mustache Studios on my first podcast.
This is so flattering.
Frank Caliendo, fired.
Wonderful.
Everybody, fired. You should just have a Vince McMahon button in your office. When they come in, go, "Don't tell me, you're fired." Or a Donald Trump button. "Frank, I know what you're going to say. Just hit the button. You're fired."
Oh, man.
Tracy Morgan.
So with Tracy Morgan...
I want to get on Saturday Night Live, make a name for myself. Get them Eddie Murphy roles. Yeah. Get everybody pregnant. Drive transvestite home.
So I had some
I let her sit in the front seat. I don't give a fuck. I don't care if you got a dick. You sit up front with me, goddammit. You can't get no tranny in your back seat. They'll steal your levels.
And so I had some capital with Saturday Night Live at that point in time. And so when they were testing that year, I had 7 people